An Olympic athlete once walked into a gas station and asked an old mechanic to train him. And the mechanic looked him dead in the eye and said, "First, take out the trash." Have you ever felt like no matter how hard you train, no matter how much effort you put in, something invisible keeps holding you back? Have you ever experienced a mind so loud, so full of worry, doubt, and fear that you couldn't even hear your own heartbeat? Have you ever looked at your opponent and realized the real enemy was never standing across from you, but living right inside your own head? If you've ever felt trapped by the noise in your own mind, if you've ever wanted someone to show you how to finally silence it, then this video is for you. This is a story of a young man named Daniel. He was a gifted gymnast, one of the best at his university, with the talent to reach the Olympics. But Daniel had a secret, a battle no one could see. You see, Daniel's body was extraordinary, but his mind was a war zone. Every night, he was haunted by the same nightmare of falling, failing, breaking apart in front of the whole world. His coach pushed him harder. His teammates admired him more. But inside, Daniel felt like a fraud. The more people believed in him, the more terrified he became of letting them down. One restless night, unable to sleep, Daniel went for a walk. His feet carried him to a place he'd passed 1,000 times, but never truly seen. A small, run-down gas station at the edge of town. And there he was, an old man, covered in grease, working on a car engine at 2 in the morning, whistling a tune, as if he didn't have a single care in the world. Daniel stopped. Something about this man, his calmness, his absolute presence, drew Daniel in like a moth to a flame. "You look like a man carrying a heavy load," the old mechanic said, without even looking up. Before he knew it, Daniel was talking, pouring out everything, the pressure, the nightmares, the fear of failing, and the old man just listened. Not with advice, not with judgment, just pure, steady silence. When Daniel finished, the mechanic stood up slowly, looked him straight in the eyes, and said 3 words that changed everything. "I'll train you." Daniel almost laughed. You're a gas station mechanic. I'm training for the Olympics. What could you possibly teach me?" But the old man didn't flinch. The mechanic simply said, "Your first lesson starts now. Go outside and take out the trash." Daniel stared at him. "Are you serious? You want me, an elite athlete, to take out your garbage from?" And then the mechanic did something Daniel would never forget. He walked up close, raised his finger, and pointed, not at the garbage can, but directly at Daniel's head. And he whispered, "Not that trash, son. The trash in your mind." Daniel felt his chest tighten, his fists clenched, every fiber of his being screamed. Who does this old man think he is? He turned around and walked out into the night. But that night, Daniel couldn't sleep. The mechanic's words echoed like a drum in his skull. The trash in your mind, the trash in your mind. By 3 a.m., his feet were carrying him back to that gas station. The mechanic was still there, same spot, same calm. As if he knew Daniel would come back. He simply poured a second cup of coffee and said, "Ready to begin? Tell me, the mechanic said. "What do you hear right now?" Daniel listened. "Nothing." "Exactly," the mechanic smiled. "That's because your mind is so loud. It has drowned out the entire world." "Your mind," the mechanic continued, "is like a waterfall. Thousands of thoughts crashing down every second. Fear, doubt, regret, anger, and you. You're standing right underneath it, letting it crush you." "But here's the secret," the mechanic whispered. "You don't have to stop the waterfall. You just have to learn to step behind it, to find the silence that was always there, waiting for you." And so, the strangest training in sports history began. No weights, no drills, no routines. The mechanic made Daniel do the most ordinary things: wash dishes, sweep the garage floor, pour gasoline, but with one rule. "Be here," the mechanic told him. "Don't think about yesterday. Don't worry about tomorrow. Just be right here, in this moment. Feel the water on your hands, hear the bristles on the floor. That is where your power lives." But it wasn't easy. Some days, Daniel's mind fought back with a vengeance. The doubts returned louder. The nightmares returned darker. He screamed at the mechanic. "This is pointless. I need to train. The competition is in 3 weeks." The mechanic sat down, and for the first time, he shared his own story. "I was once like you, Daniel. I wasn't a mechanic. I was a fighter, one of the best. Until the day I let the trash in my mind destroy everything I loved. The man who beat me wasn't stronger than me. He wasn't faster. He wasn't more skilled, but he was quieter in here." The mechanic tapped his own temple. "The real enemy, Daniel, was never your opponent. It was your own anxiety, your own noise, the war inside your head that no one else could see." Something broke inside Daniel that night. Not his spirit, but his armor. The wall he had built around his fear crumbled, and for the first time, he stopped running from the noise and started listening to the silence. Daniel went back to the gymnasium, but he was different. His coach noticed it immediately. His teammates felt it. There was a stillness in Daniel now, a calm power that hadn't been there before. He mounted the rings. The gym went silent, and Daniel closed his eyes. He didn't think about the technique. He didn't think about the score. He just let his body do what it was born to do. And in that moment, he was perfect. Then came the day, the national championship, the last chance to qualify for the Olympics. Daniel stood behind the curtain, and the trash came fluting back. Every fear, every doubt, every nightmare. His hands began to shake. His breath grew short. The old monster was back. And then he heard it, not in his ears, but in his heart. The mechanic's voice, calm as a still lake. "You don't have to stop the waterfall, son. Just step behind it." Daniel took one deep breath and let it all go. The fear, the doubt, the need to be perfect, he whispered to himself. There are no ordinary moments, and he stepped through the curtain. What happened next? The crowd would talk about for years. Daniel performed not like a man trying to win, but like a man who was finally, completely, alive. Every move was art. Every breath was music. Every moment was extraordinary. He stuck the landing perfectly. The arena erupted, but Daniel didn't hear the crowd. He didn't look at the scoreboard. He looked at the exit door of the arena, where a familiar old man in oil-stained coveralls stood watching with tears in his eyes. Daniel walked off the mat, past his coach, past his teammates, past the cameras and reporters, straight to the old mechanic, and without a word, he hugged him. And the old man whispered, You finally took out the trash. You see, Daniel didn't win because he trained harder. He won because he learned to train his mind. He learned that the greatest battle you'll ever fight isn't against someone else. It's against the noise, the fear, the trash that fills your head and makes you blind to what's right in front of you. So remember this: the next time your mind is screaming, the next time the world feels like too much, take a breath, step behind the waterfall, and remember, there are no ordinary moments unless your mind is too full to see them. If this story touched your heart, share it with someone who needs to hear it, and subscribe to Rise with Wisdom for stories that change lives.